Welcome back to Where is the Money? So the money is with the stock market, even though the jobs report numbers just came out for December, and it's not showing the economy is doing as great as the stock market, and we should talk about it.
So unemployment numbers came out, 4.4%. Sigh of relief, we dropped from 4.6 to 4.4, which is really good. It shows that the consumer has some strength, and with job wages ticking up 0.3% as opposed to 0.1% last month, that kind of shows a little stability. But it's deeper than rock and roll. You got to really get into the numbers by getting into the people. So if you look at delinquencies, that's up in a big way. If you think about student loans went from 1% up in 2024, mid 2024, to up 13% mid 2025. That's a 1,300% round trip increase. So if you're thinking about that and you're thinking about how bills are competing with paydays at this point, people are under pressure, right? So you have to really look at the rising delinquencies. You have to look at the consumer sentiment, which is 30 points down from 2024. You also have to look at the inflation. So if you think about inflation, let's say you had $100, but that $100 because of inflation was now costing you that good. Let's say you're spending $100 on some goods. That $100 is now $115. And although it's only a 15% increase, it's only $15, it's a 15% increase. Think about your $1,000 now becoming $150 more expensive for that expense. That's a lot. That is a really great amount. So people are under the pressure right now. And as you look at rents taking up their income 30% to 50%, and we're not going to see any reprieve anytime soon because there's no supply. And you look at I think the housing numbers came out today. The anticipation was 1.3 million, 33 million starts. It came in at like 1.25. So that's under. And it's going to take about 2 to 3 years to cycle through to get supply. So we're not going to get the Fed stepping in to buy this big amount of bonds, which would help mortgage rates go down. And the 10-year obviously would drop, and then we'd have cheaper mortgage rates. But that would increase, right? If we don't have enough supply out there, that's going to increase prices, and we're going to run into the same circle jerk in terms of affordability. So we got to be careful over there as well. So 4.4% is good. And like I stated, 5.2% is the benchmark. We've never seen a recession under 5.2%. So while we don't have the threat of a recession, we still have to see what's happening. Is there any economic shoes to drop this year? And as you know, we walk on a land of minefields in this administration, so we don't know. So, wear your hard hats.
So as he points out, yes, the unemployment rate has dropped from 4.6 to 4.4, which is great. However, that's not the full picture. It's a lot more things to consider in the overall grand scheme of the economy. What about the CPI report? Delinquencies are up. Since a few years ago versus now, delinquencies are high in a lot of different areas. We got reports about people falling behind with their credit cards, falling behind with their car payments, falling behind on a lot of different things. So those are not great signs. No surprise though. And we don't know what surprises is going to come down the pipeline in 2026 with the current geopolitical climate getting worse, which definitely can and will affect the current economy while things are still struggling. So we'll see how all that turned out. Some people are not surprised and entertained by these numbers. Some of these numbers indicate the real perspective of what people are experiencing on an everyday basis, but some of these feel like they're playing with the numbers. And it wouldn't be the first time the administration and the government overall has lied to the people.
The updated unemployment numbers just came out. They basically did adjustment for October and November, and surprisingly, we're at 4.4% unemployment. Now, remember, you got to double that for people that look like me. So we're around, 8.8% unemployment. And I don't know. I'm feeling like that number is a little skewed. It's already skewed because remember, they didn't release the numbers. Now they released the numbers and it's at 4.4. It was at 4.4 around the pandemic. So I think they're really much, we're not going to say falsifying, but we're going to say fudging the numbers a little bit. As we know, a lot of people have lost their jobs this past year. So this 4.4 unemployment, even though it's adjusted, even though it's late, I feel like it's fake. Is it just me? I don't know. But what that has to do with your investing is this is how you understand what your companies are looking at.
So are they playing with the numbers? Are they trying to make it seem like everything is a little better than what it really is? Do you feel like these numbers represent what you're experiencing with the economy? Or do you think that all of this is a little suspicious with all the revisions and the changes with the way things are going?
All right, breaking just a few minutes ago, brand new data on jobs. The economy added just 50,000 jobs in December. You can see that right there. And jobs growth was revised lower in both October and November. You can see what a bad month October was right there. 2025, now the weakest year of jobs growth since the pandemic. Now, on the other hand, the unemployment rate dipped to 4.4% in December.
But I tell you what numbers look a lot better, that's the stock market. It looks phenomenal. The dollar fell and recovered. Gold is at an all-time high. Silver is at an all-time high. All the numbers for the rich and well-off is doing great if you're invested. However, it's funny that all of that growth is happening on the back of a just released weak job reports number, on the backdrop of less jobs created, unemployment still high, uncertainty in the market, and they don't even know if it's going to be another rate cut with the Feds coming up. But they're doing well.
Take a look at this chart of the NASDAQ. NASDAQ soared on the back of the U.S. jobs report. We had the NASDAQ rally, gold rally, the dollar pull back, and then reverse. We'll talk about why all of this happened. But first, let's dissect the data. Taking a look at the data, you can see that, yes, we did have weaker job growth. 50,000 jobs were created in this month, but the data on the average hourly earnings and unemployment rate were better. So Americans are, getting fewer jobs, but, they're making more, the ones that actually find their jobs, and the unemployment rate decreased. Now, this kind of masks a little bit of confusion because the unemployment rate may have improved because fewer people are getting unemployment benefits or falling off the rolls, and that's not good news. We also had a downward revision to the previous month's report. But the most important question to ask with all this data is, what does this mean for the Fed? And for the Federal Reserve, it means that first off, they definitely don't need to cut interest rates in January because we see average hourly earnings up, the unemployment rate improving. But if these numbers come around 50,000 or 60,000 for a few more months, they may need to do more than one interest rate cut in January, in 2026. And that's what traders think will happen. And this explains the price action we're seeing in the markets. Stocks soared because the number, it was bad but not terrible and just kind of keeps things status quo. And it means that rate cuts are still coming this year. So stocks rallied. Gold also rallied on the back of the weaker dollar and what it means for interest rates potentially moving lower going forward.
So what do you make of all of this information? Does this prove what we've already known with the K-shaped economy, where the economy itself is still struggling for the everyday working class, middle class family? Meanwhile, the investor class, asset class, top 10%, 5% of earners with investments and assets are doing well? We are living in a two-tiered economy that one is doing well, other is doing worse. Is that how it's going to be throughout the entire 2026? Or are we going to be able to balance that out so it's more realistic for everybody to get a piece of the prosperity pie? But hey, you tell me. Put your comments below. Let's talk about it. This is Where Is the Money? Talk to you soon.